Hi, this is Earthy Love Medicine, and you have joined me for day 48 of my solid food vacation. So I haven't recorded in the last couple days. Today's Easter, and it's just kind of been about family the last couple days, and I just kind of forgot. So I'm just kind of like touching base with myself and the rest of you out there who want to know more about what I'm going through. So basically, I've been really struggling to get enough juice in, and the cravings for food is really, really hard. The last 2 nights I made raw soup. So if you haven't ever made raw soup in a Vitamix blender, you put different ingredients in there and then you blend it into a bloody pulp, and it gets really, really warm, but the nutrients does not cook out of it. And then you get a nice warm nutrient rich soup is what how I do it. So, with garlic and stuff that I'm not putting in my juices that I definitely could use for my detox. So like half a jalapeno and some spinach and pumpkin seeds. I put like a tiny little handful of pumpkin seeds in there, and a little bit of like I said, like a half a jalapeno and like 3 cloves of garlic. And I just kind of like made it really thin so that it's like actually not, because the Vitamix beats it into a bloody pulp. There's nothing there. It's, especially if I add liquid to it, it's like there's nothing. So, but it's warm, and so it's really satiating. And then another thing that melts that's really super good for you, or like for me, I think I really love it, and I think it's really good for us, is nutritional yeast. It has a lot of B vitamins in it, especially B12 is the most important one in there. But I think now, don't quote me on this, but like there's like B6, and then like another B. I'm not sure. So yeah, I mean, I could always like go read it, but I'm not gonna do all that right now. So, anyways, so I put a little bit of that on there just to like help with it, and to get those B's in there. And it was really tasty, and I'm glad that I did. It's very satiating. Um, and I'm still on a solid food vacation, and I'm still getting things in there like the pumpkin seeds. They're anti-parasitic, so that's amazing. I'm trying to get those out of there. So is garlic. So there's a lot. I'm getting a lot from it. So it's not like I'm just like eating some raggedy shit. I'm cooking it on the stove or doing any of that. Now, I will admit, earlier on in the week, I made soup. This is what gave me the idea, is that I made soup for my family with like little mini potatoes and like carrots and celery. And then like I made like a homemade vegetable broth from stuff that I'd been saving in the freezer to make homemade vegetable broth. And then, whatever. So I did like that. And, you know, the broth that night when I was making it for them, I was kind of like sipping on the broth, and it was really, really super good. So the next day for my husband, I heated it up. Oh, it had Brussels sprouts in it too. And then, so the next day I heated it up for my husband because he wasn't feeling well and it was raining. And so I was like, hey, let me heat you up that soup. And it didn't have as much broth anymore. The Brussels sprouts started breaking down and that kind of thing. So everything else started kind of becoming more part of the broth. And so I really couldn't sip on it. And it was like irking me because I'm like, oh my God, I want this so bad. So I took like maybe 3 of the little small potatoes and about 4 or 5 of the little carrots and whatever broth was left in there. And I put it in my blender, and I added some spinach or something like that, or like some power greens. And then I blended it, and then I ate some of it. I couldn't eat very much of it, but like yeah. So that was like my one thing that I'm like, I wish I didn't do that. Not because it made me feel bad or anything, because it was still like a liquid the way I made it. So I don't like, I mean, it went down just fine. But I don't like that I had something that like, even though it was liquid, that, the little potatoes and the carrots, they were cooked. So kind of telling on myself, but I really want to be honest and transparent. This is a struggle, ever since like day 40, 41, something like that. I've been struggling like really hard. You know, I'm still going through a lot of detox, and, I feel like I'm on like, and I actually remember hearing this in somebody else's testimony, that it really does become quite monotonous when all you're doing is juicing, like, and So you get bored and you want to do something else, and I don't want to do all that. Like I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going, but I'm finding ways to satiate myself so that the cravings and the mental mind fuck that I'm going through um, on and off um, is a little bit easier to get through. And I know that I'm not the only person that goes through this. It's just a part of it, working through the cravings, working through the mental stuff, working through the emotional stuff, whatever's going on. So, right now I feel like the part that's monotonous isn't just the juice, though. It's just like the exact thing every day. Um, you know, my whole life right now I feel like is on hold, and that's okay though. But unfortunately, when you struggle with food addiction and you're coming off all these things, um, it plays with your head. Like the whole thing of that, all that addiction with everything, it really messes with your head. And not to mention that today is day 7. Like it was over at like 2 o'clock today of and if you've watched my previous videos this last week, it's of me. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I did whatchamacallit, a dopamine detox is what it's called. But really what it is like you're not like you're not detoxing from dopamine. You're like detoxing from the electronics and all the things that stimulate that part of your brain that makes the dopamine go off. And so, electronics, if you know anything about this, they trigger you, especially if you go on things like freaking TikTok, especially, but all of it, YouTube, freaking Instagram, Twitter, whatever the ones that Facebook, all of it, excuse me, if it tickles your fancy, you'll scroll and scroll and scroll, or you'll watch this and watch that, or feel like, especially if you're following people and you want to, you want to see what they're doing now. And like, you get all interested in strangers and like, like me, I'm on here I'm a stranger. None of you guys have to give a damn about what I'm doing, but I'm doing something that some people are interested in. So you're going to click on it and you're going to watch it. And that's what I do. I don't always watch just straight bullshit. I'll click on stuff that, fills my brain with something that I think is educational or something like that. So it's just like, I realized in this last week how much of my time I've been wasting on it. And so even though I had the chance to like get on it today, when I got home after doing dinner and everything, I started to watch something and I was just like, I don't want to. Like I've had so much personal mind space that like I don't want to mess that up. So like, and I don't want to fall into a pattern that I was really trapped in there for a minute, which is like getting up and like, throwing on a video to listen to, or, and then the next thing I know, I've watched like 5 videos and I haven't gotten shit done. And like, I know I'm not the only one who goes through that. I think a lot of us are going through that, especially after COVID, when you couldn't fucking go anywhere. It's like, I think a lot of us had like personal boundaries around the electronics. And then when it was COVID and we couldn't go anywhere, we were like, all those boundaries just went down. And I think a lot of people went through that. Like I had boundaries with my little ones and the boundaries are so foggy, and now like trying to, they're raggedy. Like my kids are on their tablets and stuff constantly, or on their games or whatever. And it's like, it's raggedy. That's something that I've been working on. But now that we've went through the place where they expect to be on it all the time, now we have to like backtrack it and go, no. So that's something that I'm working on right now. But like to get back to the detox for myself, it was definitely like Wednesday and Thursday and like a little bit on Friday, but not as much. More like Wednesday and Thursday mostly was just like, it was ridiculous. Like at one point my brain was like, you're just torturing yourself. And I heard myself. It was like I was a witness of my thoughts. And this is the part that was really trippy, is that I would feel myself feel these really like feelings like, like what the fuck am I doing this for? Like I'm so dumb. Like I'm over here like torturing myself and blah blah blah. And it's like, bruh, torturing myself because I can't go on my phone, like go watch videos of people that I can watch them. They're not going anywhere. So at any point, if I want to get on there and watch them, I can. I was just giving myself a little bit of a break, and I'm like torturing myself, y'all. And it was like that for like 2 days. like really strong, where I just felt negative. Like it was weird because I was such a witness of my own thoughts that I could see how negative my thoughts have become like over time. It's just like when I start thinking about stuff and I'm not paying attention and controlling what I'm thinking about and like really focusing on what I'm thinking about, my brain starts running off in these directions. So just, I'm like repeating weird stuff in my head, and I'm like, what the fuck am I thinking this stuff for? Like, this doesn't even line up with my character. Like, that's not even who I really am or want to be. And I'm like saying, like, thinking these weird things. I don't even know how to explain it. Just like, thinking about negative stuff or negative experiences with people and like playing out old scenarios that like I've already been working on moving past. So I don't need to like have these negative thought patterns about people. I really want to be in a place of love, and I am to a degree, like because I'm in this place with myself and learning to love myself in a way that I never have before. And it's like I don't even know what to do with myself. And then, as far as like being a person of love or coming from a place of love, is that I just don't want to be angry anymore, and I'm really hoping that this detox continues to like help me, but I'm not that far in. Like, yes, I'm 48 days, and 2 days it's going to be on the 19th, it'll be, 50 days since I started doing this. And this is amazing. And I'm not done. Like, I'm not close to done. And it's weird because I thought that I would have progressed like a lot more. I'm currently at 204. So when I started the juice fast, I was at like 217, but when I started in the beginning of the year, I was at 240. So and then when I started 2 years ago, I was at like 288. So if you've been watching my videos, you kind of know this. So I'm just giving you kind of a weight update, is that I'm now down 85 pounds from 2 years ago. And I'm now down, let's see, if I was 40, 30, 20, 10, 36 pounds since the beginning of the year. Yes, 36 pounds. And then 10, 11, 12, 13 pounds since I started the juice fast. So I'm really not losing a lot of weight with the juice fast. I've only lost 13 pounds since freaking March 1st. Bruh. But I feel like once I'm able to pass some of this stuff after I get that like blockage out, I think I should be able to do it. So, okay, so as I ramble, I'm like now thinking about, the blockage that I have and how I want that to come out, because I feel like I'm holding on to a lot of debris that needs to come out. Like I haven't passed my mucoid plaque yet. And I feel like that's what a lot of us wait for. Like that's what we want. So I don't know. I think maybe it's different for others, but some people have already passed them at this point. And then other people are like, oh, you don't pass them till after like 60 days or 70 days. So I'm like, so who knows? I feel like it's different for everybody, I guess. So yeah, I've been feeling really, really funky, y'all. And I don't understand, like, all the testimonies and stuff that I've seen, I haven't seen that many where they really talk about how frustrating the detox is. Like, I just finished like a really bad breakout and I'm still really itchy. But at least my knuckles aren't cracked open, and I had like thick yellow like goo coming out of my hands. Like my hands, they felt like they like were itchy and burny, and I had to like be in the shower. Like it was really brutal. And the next day my hands were swollen and it looked like I had like fucking burns on my hands. Like my hands looked like almost like there was fluid underneath the skin. And that was like that for like 2 days, and then it started to crack and bleed out. Like mostly crack, not as much bleed, but it cracked and like oozed out is what I meant. Like all the stuff that was like in my hands was coming out. And then it I had like sheets of skin on my hand where fresh skin grew underneath, almost like if you had gotten a burn. And then I had big cracks that had to close, and they did. So they're looking like so much better. They're like kind of, dry and crusty, and they itch really, really bad. But they're not cracked open anymore and oozing yellow stuff anymore, which is fantastic because that was really painful. Because, you know, even if I have bursts of energy here and there and I'm really having a lot more focus than I used to be able to have, I'm still breaking out. So it makes it hard for me to accomplish it and be motivated to do a fucking thing because my hands hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like doing the dishes, my kitchen looks like shit. You know, mopping, everything that I want to do requires some kind of like getting my hands wet or, you know, cleaning something. So, you know, so that's kind of frustrating. But I think that I just, you know, I know that I'm going to be okay. Like, I know that this is just like a wave of like, you know, I'm confident. I guess what I mean is like, I'm confident that this is where the rubber hits the road, is when it really starts to get hard like this. You know, it wasn't going to get easier after, you know, 40 days. It was going to get harder after 40 days because, you know, I haven't eaten in, you know, fucking a month and a half. So, I'm like, and I cook for my family also. Like, if you are doing this or you want to do this, you know, maybe you can relate if you are doing this, how hard it is if you're a mom and your wife and you know, you're like the main person who cooks in your family, you know, or if you're a dad and you're the main person who cooks in your family, you understand that you're in the kitchen and you're like, you know, you want to make all these masterpieces because you're fucking starving. You know, and just so you know, I don't feel starving all the time. The only time I feel like that is when I'm struggling to get enough juice in, and that's partially like on me. Like I feel like almost like I'm part of me is like trying to like sabotage it a little bit, where I'm not drinking enough juice. Now I had a little bit of raw soup. I don't feel necessarily like bad about the raw soup. I just don't want to feel like I need it, you know, but I did go walking today with my family, and so maybe that's, you know, why I was so damn hungry when we came back. But I had juice the whole time. I made sure I brought enough juice, and, you know, I don't know, but I don't want to sabotage myself and I don't want to fail. I feel like that at this point, I'm not going to start eating again. I'm not. So there is no option but for me to get through this. And I feel like part of me passing waste, you know, once I get rid of more, I feel like that, like, I don't know, that maybe I'll start to feel like a lot better, you know. I feel like the waste has something to do with it. I do, because I'm still really itchy, so it's still like, you know, passing tar. Like, you keep seeing me do this because my back itches. Like, it's starting to, you know, have hella itchiness on it. Like, I itch a lot. So that's like one of the things that I know that once I pass the stuff down there, that stuff will start to feel better. At least I really, really hope it does. I'm so tired of this, you guys. I've had eczema since I was freaking 24 years old, and I'm 45, and it's really uncomfortable. When I used to eat meat, though, my hands were like, they were gross, like, all the time. So I just went through something like that. So you can kind of see, like, there you can see the dryness. It's pretty dry, but all that redness and everything that you're seeing, all that itch is really bad right now. So, and let me see if I can show you on my other hand. See, you can still kind of see the remnants of the cracks. They were really bad though, like, you don't even know. And all this dryness right here that you're seeing, this itch is really, really super, super bad underneath, like all that redness. So I want the detox to be over. Like, I really wanted this to, like, I feel like I'm like such a spoiled baby because I just want this to be like smooth sailing, and it's just, it's a job, guys. It's a job. I'm not just like drinking juice. I'm detoxing years and years and years of toxins and waste out of my system, and it is not a walk in the park. And there's a reason why John Rose calls this the hero's journey, because there's a lot of people that do not have it in them to not eat for almost 50 days. And I'm not done. The one thing that I'm really grateful for, though, and I feel like I've seen this in other videos too, like people doing the same thing, is that it does get like easier. It's not as hard to not eat. It's more the mental stuff. Seriously, it's the freaking brain fucks that we do to ourselves, and the mind excuses, and I mean the excuses and the rationalizations and the justifications of being who we've been and how we've been, and not wanting the answer to the problem to be the answer. You know, it took me 10 years to accept this was the answer to all my problems, all my health problems. And I know now that it is, but I still have to walk through this. I still have to like do the thing that, you know, makes that thing happen. I've always wanted to heal my body. So I'm like, you know, 20 minutes in. I've kind of rambled on about a lot of things, but I'm just like, you know, kind of filling in the space as far as like I haven't done a video in a couple days. Excuse me. And I really want to make sure that I don't just like do the like, hey guys, Earthy Love Medicine here. You know, today's day 48 and, you know, it's amazing. I feel amazing. Fucking don't. I don't feel amazing. Now, I don't feel my worst. So that's awesome. And I don't feel as bad as I did when I started. So there's that part too. So there is good parts and there is benefits as of this far, but that doesn't change the fact that in this moment, in the last couple days, the amount of mental stuff that I've gone through and the cravings has been very, very challenging and overwhelming. And I really want anybody who's wanting to do this, or you know, or maybe even people who, like I said before earlier in the video, if you're doing this now and you're looking at this day 48 because you're on day 48, it's like, if you're feeling like shit and you are overweight and you got all these parasites, this from what I understand is really super normal, you know. So just like a cosign, like, hey, you know, everybody goes into this with a different level of toxicity. And I know that where I was at was way worse than I was accepting until that last little stretch where I was like, okay, I know what I gotta do. You know, I've been researching this shit for 10 years. It took me 10 years, y'all. Almost. In June, it'll be 10 years since I started doing this, since I watched Forks Over Knives and made the decision. And then I watched The Gerson Miracle, and I watched all these incredible documentaries and, you know, and throughout the years. And then I got pregnant like shortly after that, you know, what, 5 months after I became a vegetarian. And, you know, and then I learned all about natural births, and I had 2 of them. So I've done a lot of things that I'm proud of on this journey, but I also, it took a lot for me to be undoctrinated. A lot. Years and years and years and years of like eye-opening truths that were really hard to accept and swallow. And that's why quite a few videos back, like a week ago, I did do a video about being unprogrammed or deprogrammed, or however you want to say it, where we are all brainwashed, all of us, and it's designed this way. And the only way to be free is to allow yourself to be unbrainwashed. And that means being willing to hear something that seems really far out there and radical and, I don't know, entertaining that it could be true, you know? Because there's a lot of sick, dark shit out there going on. And, you know, and one of the sick, dark things that I think all of us need to wrap our mind around is that the food that we've been told is food, and the things that they've done to our food and our water and our air, all of it, it's poisoning us all to death. And we're all fat, sick, and nearly dead. Thank you, Joe Cross. And we have to take our lives back and stop putting them in the hands of strangers that we're told that they have more authority over ourselves than we do because they went to school. You know that you can get a PhD on a C average or a below C average, like a C minus, you can still get a PhD. You can still be a doctor. So even if you're a freaking A student or a C minus D student, or however that works, I think it's a C minus, you can still be a doctor. So when you get your firm, they don't ask you if you had A's or C's in order to be a doctor. So some people made it through on the skin of their teeth. And then on top of that, that whole system is indoctrination. And so the doctors are indoctrinated. If you actually look into this rabbit hole of doctors who got sick and had to figure out, they had to like break through their training and their programming so that they could accept that the medicines and the way that they were doing things and telling other people to do them were freaking not working. And they had to freaking completely relearn what it really is to be a healer, right? Because aren't doctors supposed to be healers? Now, I'll tell you, if I broke my leg, I'd go to the hospital and ask them to help me. But I promise you, the stuff they give me to feel better is going to fuck me up, right? But what do? Just juice again? I mean, the medical system and the pills and and if you're one of those people who are on pills and you're still eating meat and you're still eating dairy, I feel so sad for you because the pills are awful. And then you got that kind of attack on you too. There's just, I tell you, I didn't think like this before and I do now. And that's what I mean by unprogramming. The way I think was a process. Yes, I seem like a crazy bitch. I'm over here. I haven't eaten in 48 days, and all my belief systems, my son, he thinks I'm fucking bonkers. But the truth is that, when you're brave enough to look outside your own way of thinking and the things you've been told, you find the truth of who you really are and who we all really are. And I'm still in the process of unveiling all of that, and having those things relayed to me, or shown to me, however. And I feel like, if you're at a video like this, then you probably are too. And we're all at different stages of it. Sometimes I'm frustrated because I wish I would have learned all this a long time ago so I wasn't 45 years old figuring it all out. But hey, better late than never. I'm still young enough to live a nice, long life with optimal health. And that's my choice. And I hope that you make that choice too, if you haven't already, to at least entertain the idea that you're better off not cooking your food and putting natural things into your body and not eating animals. And, and if you really are still eating animals, go find out what they're putting in them. So that you're not just getting the meat, you're also getting all the stuff that they put into the animals to keep them alive and thriving. And then it's just, the list goes on and on. So it's a lot, you guys. Like, this is a lot, and it's intense. It's very intense, and doing the enemas. Never in my life did I think I'd be somebody who does 1 or 2 enemas a day, like every day. And I don't like doing them. They're extremely uncomfortable. Excuse me, y'all. And I really want to keep it real and make sure that I'm relaying that this is not all freaking sunshine and roses. It's fucking hard. And if you really want this, you want to have help, then you gotta fucking get through the hard shit. So I think I'm gonna end with that. I think I've said a lot. And, if you've been thinking about these things, or, I don't know, maybe have questions about my feelings and thoughts about them, sure, please, leave a little comment. I'll do my best to get back to you, and maybe we can have some discussions about all this stuff, because we all need to be talking about it, right? So if you're new here, like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. That way you can get notifications if I put out another update video. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this channel after I do the juice fast. I may not. I don't even know what it's going to become. I just feel like it's so important to document this and share it with others, because I know there's so many people out there that are thinking about this, or struggling with health, and they are looking to find someone who's gone through it too that they can relate to. So I hope somebody related, and I hope you have a great morning, noon, or after night. Morning, afternoon, or evening. You could tell it's late for me. I'm tired. And it was Easter, so if you're catching this, happy Easter. No, I'm just playing. Take care.